There we go. We practiced our round of applause, but let's give Gillian the real deal right now as she takes the stage. There you go.
Thank you very much. So honored to be here. Nice to see your lovely faces. I met Talisha at Snaresbrook Crown Court. We had one conversation, and that is how I'm here. I think that is a running theme for many of the other guests that we've had tonight. Just the power of using your network, the power of having confidence to approach people, and immediately not impose yourself on them, but to have a conversation, listen to what their strengths are, and then know how that relates to you. When you find that common ground, you immediately have an ally, who then she pulled up months later, and she's like, hey, remember me? I'm doing this. This is something everyone should take note of because it's been said a couple times before. Okay, so my name is Gillian Rowe. I am from Barbados, but I'm currently here in the UK studying. I am a children's book author. In particular, children's picture books. So I have a publisher here, but I actually started with self-publishing. And I was speaking a bit earlier about actually how difficult it is to write a children's book. It's difficult because you're summarizing what can be quite a massive thought process for tiny minds. But it's the parents that's reading the book to the children. So you're also speaking to the parent's mind. When you have to condense a story like that as a picture book, you are also not telling the whole story. You can only tell half, because the other half is for the illustrations. So I have been able to fine-tune storytelling by breaking it down into the most simple foundational precepts: beginning, middle, and end. Storytelling is going to take place in every conceivable conversation, every interaction that you have. It is going to do well for job interviews. It is going to do well for internships. It is going to do well for any time you have to grab a mic, but also if you're simply having a conversation in the living room with your family. So in this storytelling workshop, I'm going to step to the side so that you can take as many screenshots or pictures as you would like of the slides. This is going to be information that you can complete when you're digesting this session. We're going to talk about the personality, perspective, punctuation, and no more P's, we're going with an F. We're doing focus. You will also see that many of these words and the principles that we follow have actually been said by many of the panelists before. So you should think of what has been said before, think of what is on the screen now, and apply it to your life. The definition that we're working with is on the screen. This is storytelling in its broadest sense. Why? Because everything I say today has to be filtered by yourselves into your own unique lived experiences. So we had a bit about authenticity before, and so I fundamentally agree that the best stories are always going to have a strong basis in truth. Now, so does fake news. But because you are the person who has the power in the room, you are going to use your truth for good. So you have to think of the truths in your life and let that somehow connect to whatever the topic or the principle or the conversation is that you need to continue. We also spoke about, you would think that we had conversations before, but I did these slides long before I met any of these people. And You see the second point. It's about branding, and it's about personal brand. Because that is also an integral part of your storytelling. You're giving someone an experience of yourself. So you don't want to go and put on a mask or look like anyone else. You do want to make sure that you are your best self. So if you get your hair cut every Tuesday, continue to do that. If you do your nails every whatever, continue. If you have a hairstyle that is yours, continue to do that. And do not let anyone tell you any different. The power of storytelling is really expressed when you can nail engagement through storytelling. That's what you want to do. And I have on the slide here what you want people to be thinking about when you're speaking to them. Because believe it or not, people have their own thoughts. I'm talking now, but someone is thinking about something else. You are thinking about something else in your life that I would never know about. But what I want to have, the impact I want to make, is I want you to be asking, why is she saying this? Okay, she wrote a book. What is that about? What do you do? You need to be asking why. And that means that I am making an impression. I'm making an impact, not necessarily think on you, not necessarily manipulating you, but I'm causing your thoughts to align with where I'm going. All of a sudden, I am now a person of interest, because your mind is now thinking about what I'm saying. If you have 30 seconds in front of a very important person, it's not necessarily the time to spout your whole CV at them. You know what is? It is time for you to drop information that in their head they say, why did you tell me that? What was that all about? Because, well, we'll get on to the because in the next few slides. But just note, for this slide, you need to make sure you are a person of interest. The because is because you must be remembered. Your impact must leave an impression on their memory. That's all you want. They'll find you. They'll search for you. They'll find you on socials. They'll find you. You need to be memorable. And how you control that memorable factor is through your perspective. Each of us are different. We already have the unique indicators. That is something that was said earlier during the panel as well. It's not something you now have to research. Everyone comes from a culture. You have a history. You have religion. Politics is imposed on us. We don't get to decide. It's just what is. So you need to recognize that these things are part of your toolkit and they're part of your power of storytelling. Now, what is important is that you don't just leave it at that first mark, but you move to the second. The second is you now assess whether what you have in your wheelhouse is going to be a threat or it's going to be an aid to you in whatever situation you're in. When you're in an interview and you know you have a different culture, sometimes, depending on the interview, that is your superpower. But depending on the interview, that might be a threat. You have to assess for yourself whether or not this is going to help your character, whether or not this is going to prove the habits that you have, whether or not it's going to show that you are a person of depth, you're a person who's willing. You need to decide. What I'm giving you are the tools that you already have. I'm kind of spotting a light on them. So you know how you can tell your story effectively from now on. I've put at the bottom where you can apply these tools, But please know this list is not exhaustive at all. You will find yourself in different situations. Punctuations. We went through personality, perspectives, we're now at punctuations. Now you can chat GPT for the simple things like raise your voice, keep eye contact. Those things are the easy things. What I want to focus on here is a bit of the depth of research that you can do on yourself. How many of you have done a personality test on yourself within the last 3 months? Your life is going to change. You will go through different seasons. And your personality is not necessarily linked to this core that never moves. Every once in a while, you want to be able to do a personality test, not to project your future or to align yourself with anything necessarily, but just look at the functional action areas. Because if you fall under an introvert or an extrovert, there may be tools that are more effective to you as that individual than others. This is the research that you do for yourself before you have a speaking engagement, before someone calls you, or before you put yourself out there as some kind of professional. This is the research you do on yourself. Along with that, sometimes it's said that you need to know your audience, and that was also spoken about today. The step further to that is understanding the power that you will have in any kind of room. And so the question you really ask then is, what is this venue? What venue am I speaking in? Will I have to raise my voice for the entire time? Will the mic suffice? Am I going to be delivering my communication in a group, or will I have a one-on-one discussion? For example, we all know that it is said that you must speak loudly and clearly. Now, if you have an interview and it's 2 people and you across the table and 4 walls, do you want to tell yourself that this is why? Need I say more? Hand gestures. That was also mentioned with the demonstration of the walk. And what do I have there? Power stance. You wouldn't believe. I have never this. I've never talked to Andrew in my life. It is true. You heard it once. You heard it twice. Understand that these things are the truth. This isn't one person telling you that, but you need to develop your walk as your brand. Doesn't matter where you're going. Doesn't matter who your audience is. You hold yourself the way you hold yourself because you've entered the room. I'm going to leave that last fact below for you to digest. But all that is saying is that the power is in your hands, in yourself. Moving to not the P, but the foot. You're trying to create a very story. Share, you're curating a lasting impression, which is an amplified, remember me. When you focus on delivering your story, sometimes it is going to be about the content, and you need to make sure that a certain content is delivered. But you have to also focus on the purpose of your story. Are you retelling? In which case, the facts are going to be very important, because if they don't get the correct facts from you, and you were the one retelling, who else are they getting it from? If you're advocating on behalf of someone, you need to have a certain level of empathy, because you are not pushing your perspective forward. You need to have digested and internalized the persons who you're representing so that you can accurately be their voice. That's a different kind of story. All of this is the thought process that you have to make. You have to decide, how am I focusing? The influencer social media world that we're in, you will see that every influencer has their own style, they align themselves with their own brands, and that is their version of focusing. And the ones that do it best are very clear on the stories they tell and what they focus on. Be a focused individual. You will miss nothing. It's better you do one thing very, very well, and everyone respects you for that, than for you to confuse yourself without focus. Coming down to the end, I'm just putting some quotes here because everyone's mind is different, and you should be attracted to more to one of these phrases than the other. I want to leave again with our principles: personality, perspective, punctuation, and not the P, but the F, the focus. And here are some things you want to remember. You can inspire yourself because you've lived more than one day, more than 3 years in memory. Lived. Where you have lived, you have stories to tell. So you can inspire yourself. At the same time, however, which also came up on the panel, you don't know everything. So there's a limiting factor on that. You don't know everything. So you will lean on others, you will research for yourself. Also, be open to explore and be inspired. Your stories are going to come from exploration. When Kim put up the picture of himself in what looked like a market, I said, yeah, that's exploration. You need to go where you haven't gone before. You need to take the bus that will get you to the same place, but perhaps a different route. Something as simple as that can open your eyes to an area of inspiration that can push you and your storytelling in a different direction. Finally, you got to look back and forwards, referring to your history, never forget it, and forwards, remember your goal. This will be a very good tool for your storytelling. And then do it and keep doing it. That's practicing. We also heard that before. Do what you do, how you do, over and over and over again. It's okay. You will refine it naturally. Just keep doing it. So finally, I want to talk about provenance. And I'm going to go back to the writing of children's books. Because ChatGPT, who is not a sponsor in this talk, but ChatGPT can write children's books as well. What is the difference?